All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Replace Your Income with Kevin and...
My name is Steve.
Hi,
Kevin,
Steve.
if you've forgotten that already.
Hi, Steve. That's why I always pause with Kevin and because I always forget.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Like,
yeah.
You know.
And so thank you for the reminder. I'm glad. I hope everybody watching and listening now finally knows who you are.
Yeah, and we've only been working together for like almost 16 years.
I think we even co-authored a book together. There's a chance.
A couple of books, actually.
Okay, that's true, dude. So speaking of books, so on Sunday, my 10-year-old Brody, he has to read a half hour a day. And he thinks it's cooler than anybody else in my family that his dad's an author of some sort, right? Nobody else could care. He cares.
Yeah.
He actually thinks it's cool. And so on Sunday, we were like, buddy, you got to read, your 30 minutes today. And he goes, I know what book I'm going to read. And he goes and grabs a copy of Micro Wins to Millions and sat on the couch and read it for like a half hour. Isn't that cool?
That's awesome.
I know. It was like, I got a picture on my Instagram of him he doesn't like it when we take his picture unless he gives us authorization. So like when we're hiking in Moab, I had full authorization, but in normal everyday life, I do not have authorization. So I took a picture of him holding the book in front of his face, sitting on the couch reading it. So it's on Instagram.
I have a newly found respect for Brody. That is awesome.
He knows. In fact, so the other thing he did, I can't remember if I mentioned this before. I think I might have. He has, we have Alexas that our kids will listen to, and he got mad because he kept on asking Alexa to play Micro Wins to Millions on Audible, and it wouldn't work because we haven't recorded it yet because he wanted to listen to it. So anyway, he is excited. I don't know if anybody else is excited about the book besides you, me, and him, but he is excited.
That is cool.
Well, today we have kind of an interesting topic. So this is something that we've been, I think the topic today is simply this, that time takes care of everything when it comes to real estate.
Even real estate.
Yeah.
All of real estate.
All of real estate.
And life in general.
But this we know that time is the only kind of finite resource, but I don't think that we give time its due credit when it comes to the role that it plays inside of wealth building. In fact, for those of you who listen to the podcast regularly, you might have remembered when I had Braxton on the podcast, and we'd been doing some job shadowing. And as I was driving around trying to explain real estate to him, because it was the first time that he kind of wrapped his mind around, I let him know. I said, Brax, okay, so, and I might have asked him on the podcast, like, what is the most important aspect of real estate? And I would just ask anybody that question. If you ever can say, if you listen to this podcast, if you've read real estate books, if you're in real estate, what is the single most important aspect of real estate? And you'd probably get a whole bunch of answers like, it's where you buy, it's the price, it's the cash flow, it's the interest rate, it's the tax advantages. And all of those are profit centers. But the number one thing that is the most critical piece of every piece of real estate and every real estate portfolio, at least the way that we view it and the way we wrote about it in the book, is quite simply time.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when I contemplate time and I think about it. I had an experience today even. When we first started the process, like this building took more than a year to close. From the time that we put it under contract to the time that we moved in was just over a year. Yeah. Like it took that long.
Yeah.
And it's because like the financing part and then the rehab and the build out and that kind of a thing. But just closing on the building itself actually took about 7 months. And during that time, the interest rate on this property went from about 6.5%, 7% to 10%.
Yeah.
And 3 percentage points on a building this size and on the mortgage that we have on it, pretty substantial.
Yes.
And so as I was looking at it, reviewing it, By
the way, when the interest rate went up on this building, we just bailed, right? Because the interest rate went up. So we said, no way, we're not going to buy. Is that what happened?
Yeah. So I would swear at you right now, but I don't swear. So, and the reason why I say that is because no, like this is one of the best investments, Kev, that we've ever made. We've done a lot of single family homes, and you and I decided to take that leap. We kind of felt like, it's like, look, like we're in the real estate business and we've been leasing office space forever.
Yeah.
It's like, it's time for us to I know that our strategy is single family homes and that has been our thing, but we're savvy enough and it's competent enough that we could kind of diversify a little bit. And so we decided to buy this building and felt like it was in alignment with who we are and, our business of being in the business of real estate. And so it's like, I say like, no way would we ever bail on this.
Yeah.
Like
it didn't even come up. Like, I don't even think we had a discussion on, the interest rate's gone up. It was like, we're moving ahead no matter what.
Yeah. No matter what.
Yeah.
Like, and all the way from even the scarcity of supplies to do what we wanted to do and the cost of building the whole thing. Like this is one of those things that, and we're going to talk more about this later, is that time, when we look back on this 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, whenever
that's right.
in time, we're going to look and say, even though the economy did what it did, this was one of the single best things that we ever did, was to stick to it and to make it happen. And so anyways, as I was going through the P&L, I was looking at, obviously, the mortgage was a lot higher than what we anticipated it being. But what it has done for us in looking at the P&L, looking at our balance sheet and so on, it's like even in the first year of doing business in this office space, because we rent out some additional space, right, that we don't use. It's been a phenomenal investment, Kev. And it's only been the first year. And as I extrapolated out, because I was like, okay, I'm going to take a look and see where we're at like 5 years out. And so I did this little projection. And on top of that, I took a look at our property analysis, which projects 10 years out. And I was like, it was just a reminder. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
It's like, yes. Like, I remember exactly why we wanted to do this and exactly what this is going to do for us. So anyways, like time is all it needs.
Well, here's what's so interesting about that, what you just said. So if you think about it in this term, that the real estate that we do, it's about the long-term plan more than it is about the short-term market, right? And what I mean by the long-term plan as opposed to the short-term market is I think that as humans, we have a tendency to get sort of very, is myopic the word, where we kind of look more granular, right? It's like, what did I do last month? What am I doing this month? What's happening in the market next month? But those are all really sort of immediate things, immediate concerns. When we can zoom out and we take a look at it over the long run, it always makes sense. So I was at an event last Friday with our good friend Ryan Lee. And one of the things that I noticed about the way that he's always viewed his real estate is that he started buying as soon as he could. And time has been the single greatest wealth creator in his entire business. And I would like everybody listening to consider that time is the single greatest wealth creator that you have. Now, granted, time by itself, not attached to anything, isn't going to do much for you. But if you go and buy real estate and then you give it time, which means you have to do something that is completely counterintuitive. You have to be patient. And because we are immediate people and we love to have immediate results, and that's why there's all the fast food restaurants and there's Amazon and 2-day Prime, shipping, and there's, DoorDash and Uber Eats so that we save time. We've invented all of these ways to save time. And we think that what we're doing is we're giving ourselves more time, right? That's why we invent time-saving things. But what's interesting is, why would we invent technology as humans? Why would we invent technology? Why would we invent things that, quote unquote, save time? It's because we understand that the single most valuable resource that exists is time. Time is the wealth creator when it's attached to something that's a medium for wealth creation. And so with real estate, when we take a look at real estate, we've done it a billion times on this podcast and, in content that we've done, I always think of my parents' home. And I just always think about the fact that had they not bought in the 60s and waited and just waited and waited and waited, every financial concern that they had looking towards retirement was solved because of time, because they attached, when they purchased a home, they clicked on the time counter that was the real wealth creator in association with that real estate. And why I think that that's important is because we get myopic as investors, and I think just as people, we're so hesitant to take action on certain things, especially when it comes to a big purchase like real estate, because we are afraid of the immediate financial sort of concern. If there's a way that we can weather whatever the storm is that may come, time is the most valuable piece, which brings us back to why we should always be buying and why we went forward with this building, Steve, why we didn't talk about, oh no, the interest rate has gone up. Oh no, we can't go find all the materials that we want to do the build out. We wanted to click on the ticker so that the wealth creation of time could start because we closed on a piece of property. And now that time is what's going to be the deciding factor as to whether or not we're going to be successful with this property.
Well, and the other word that goes really well with time is plan. You know, having a plan. And I think that that's the key, because the thing that fluctuates is economic conditions. The thing that fluctuates is the value of real estate, interest rates, just world events that affect everything that's going on. And as we were talking about this earlier this morning, when I came into the office, we had a kind of an impromptu conversation, and that when we look at our clients who have had tremendous success over the last 10 to 15 years, it's those individuals who came to the table, we helped them create their plan. And regardless of what the market conditions were, they forged ahead.
Yes.
Whether it was like those who got started with us in 2007 and then the crash happened 2009-ish, they kept going. They kept moving forward as they had the resources, as their properties, had, equity in them such that they could move forward. There was no panic. And they didn't change what it was that they did because they could see kind of that long-term vision of what this was going to do for them. So instead of letting the economic conditions dictate their plan, what they wanted to do, it may have changed things by a matter of months, maybe even a year or whatever. But as they were able to, they stuck to the plan of going from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8 or 10, and just moved forward that way regardless. And now, like what they've been able to achieve and accomplish in combination with a plan and with their time is they've accomplished and achieved this economic independence. Now, we also have some clients who were, and you can't blame people for having fear and that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It happens and circumstances change, but those who did, they got out of the game without exception, Kev. Those individuals who have come back to us and said, I am so sad. I'm so mad at myself that I pressed pause for the last 8 years. Like what could have been, my whole life, my whole world could be different today. It boils down to those two things, having that plan and doing everything in your power to stick to it, and that time that allows things to happen.
Yeah. So I was, as you were talking, I was thinking about the fact that today actually is pretty much exactly 4 years from the time that I closed on the home that I moved into 4 years ago, right? The only reason
4 years ago?
Yeah, that's crazy, right? It was 2020. Wow. The only reason I know that is because the day that we closed on the home was the same day that my wife and I had our first date, which was September 2nd, right? And we're recording this on September 3rd. And so yesterday we were at Lagoon Amusement Park celebrating our 18-year date anniversary, our first date anniversary. But that's also the day that we closed on our home 4 years ago. Now here's what's interesting. Okay, my interest rate on that home is 2.875. Okay, the down payment that I used for the home, I can't remember what it was now. It was probably, I don't know, between $40,000 and $60,000, something like that. When I look at, okay, there was a down payment, there was an interest rate, but the wealth that's been created inside of my home has only been created not because the interest rate was at 2.875 and not because of the amount that I put down on the home. The only thing that's created what is now like over nearly $250,000 of additional wealth that magicked into my life. Technically more than that because, we've utilized a HELOC from the home to go and buy additional real estate like this building, right? So, but what's interesting is if I take a look at the wealth that's been created over the last 4 years, right, between multiple investments and just in my primary residence, it so far outweighs what it was as a down payment, and the interest rate did not matter. The thing that mattered was I bought at a time when, look, the market was starting to go crazy. Interest rates were low. People were like, oh no, what am I going to do? People were offering way above asking for homes. But timing wise, I was like, we are going to buy our new primary residence now, similar to us looking at the building. And so the largest wealth creator, because it was attached to real estate, has been time. Now look, people trying to break into the housing market today, they are $200,000 behind the 8 ball, right? As more than they would have been 4 years ago.
Yeah. Well, so let me share another experience that I had also yesterday. So my son and his wife and their 4 kids, my 4 grandsons, have been hanging out with us for the last month, actually. So they live in New York City, Manhattan, and they came and spent a month with us. And my son, I've shared his story, and he's got several properties. Well, one of his properties is in Provo, Utah, which is like a 15-minute drive from here. And he needed to go down there. He just did a little bit of a remodel in the basement. And so he's been doing just miscellaneous things while he's been in town. And he's like, hey, Dad, you want to come down with me? There's this one sprinkler I need to fix. It's hitting this window or whatever. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll go down there with you. And so we did some fix up and stuff. And I was like, Dad, when did you buy this home? And he's like, it's been like 8 years now. And I was like, how much did you pay for it? And it says all brick. It's upstairs, downstairs, right? It's a single family home with a legal accessory apartment in the basement. And he's like, I paid $205,000 for it. I was like, 205? What? And knowing that it's worth a lot more than that, I was like, well, have you looked at it recently? What's it worth? He's like, I know exactly what it's worth. He's like, his wife takes care of all their books and the properties and stuff. And it's worth somewhere between $550,000 and $600,000.
Insane.
Like in those 8 years, he's seen an increase of somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000. And on the rent side, so he's had like he's got his set, interest rate. So his payment's been the same. When he lived in the basement, rented the upstairs. When he moved out and he first started renting that apartment out, he was getting like $750, $800 ish a month. It's been 8 years, so it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Like that accounts for a third of his life because he's only like 30, 32. And, but during that time, he just rented it out, like the 1st of September. So literally like a couple days ago, rented it out for $1,500.
It's doubled.
Yeah. Just the basement unit.
That's amazing.
About doubled in those 8 years.
Yeah.
And so his cash flow has increased. Obviously his values increased, but the biggest thing is like, again, this time, giving something time. Like he has some student debt because he went to law school and it was fairly expensive.
Which law school did he go to again?
Somewhere in Boston.
Okay.
Cool. He went to Harvard Law School.
He went to Harvard.
And, I've kind of said to him a couple times, it's like, are you tempted at all to sell one of your properties and just pay off your student loans instead of, having to take a big chunk of his monthly income to pay these off? And he's like, I will never sell these properties. Meaning he'll sell and
sure.
buy it, but he's going to keep that,
but not
what he's
sell
put together.
And take the cash.
Yeah,
home.
exactly. He's like, he's not going to use that to pay off his debts.
Yeah.
Because he's like, Dad, it's like, I'm going to pay off my student loans from my income because I've got my plan. This is my plan. He turned down his 401k option with the firm that he's with because he's using all his money. He's a one-trick pony. It's all real estate.
Yeah.
And he gets it. He understands like doubling down on real estate, and he gets what his real estate will do over time. And he's already extrapolated it out. He's like, I know the end. He's like, I know the end from the beginning, Dad. He's like, I already know what my portfolio is going to be when I think I'm going to be ready to retire. He's like, I will never get rid of my real estate because of all the benefits, the many different benefits in addition to the cash flow and the appreciation. He's got the depreciation. He's got the principal paid down. Like that's the other thing is that home over the last 8 years, the principal has been paid down like $50,000, right? So like he's got all of these things going on. And so again, it boils down to those two things, time and a plan. Yeah. And then of course, maybe the third element that we could add to this, Kev, is a willingness to be stubborn at executing that plan and sticking with it, because there are so many things that come up that can derail us.
Yeah, 100%. I was thinking about the idea. So if the plan is, I want to create wealth in real estate, that's the plan. Then you don't deviate from that plan. You stick to the plan. And the plan should be a long-term plan, because if it's a long-term plan and it's associated with real estate, it will be a wealth creator. Like when I just think of the elements, the fluctuation. So we were talking earlier and we kept saying it's the plan, not the market, meaning the plan and the time are the most critical aspects, not necessarily where you buy or what the interest rate is or what the purchase price is, right? Or what the market is doing. It's a number of things that come together, but it's having a plan, being stubborn and sticking to the plan and giving that plan time. That's the wealth creator. Like when I think of the home that I grew up in, I just go, look, okay, so it was purchased in the 60s. I mean, we went through how many different economic downturns, Republican administrations, Democratic administrations, interest rates from single digits up to much higher double digits, back to single digits, down to low single digits, back to mid digits, right? You had multiple recessions. You had a double recession. You had, a global pandemic. You had,
wars.
You had multiple wars. You had oil crises. You had inflationary periods. Like it literally didn't matter that you could put all of that stuff together, put it in a blender and mix it up, and what pours out of it is never going to be is never going to sort of offset the wealth that can be created based on the time that you can give a plan, right? And that is just, I hope that people listening are just seeing it through the lens of like, look, you've got to have a plan. So look, if you don't have a plan, what's step one? Well, you got to get a plan. And that's why we do game plans with people, right? It's like, let's look at where you're at. Let's look at where you're going to. In the book, there's a chapter where we talk about, the plan always starts right where you are, right? It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter how much you own or how much you don't own. It doesn't matter how much you make or how much you don't make. There is a plan that you can create starting this moment in order to acquire real estate. So if you're looking at it and you're going, I'm really wanting to get my next property, I want to get my first property, there is a plan to get there, but you have to have a plan put together, and then you have to religiously commit to that plan. And if you will commit to that plan and give it the time that it needs, you will create wealth in real estate. Period. Full stop. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Time is the great wealth creator. We just have to then be able to leverage time. And the way we leverage time is we leverage time through an asset like real estate. Time won't make you a dang thing if you just sit on your butt and wait for something to happen. But when you get off your butt, do a thing like create a plan and get that first or next property and then give it time, that's how you leverage time, not just let time leverage you.
I love it, Kev. And I mean, the thing is, time is something that you can't get back. It's our most valuable commodity.
It is.
It's one of those things that, you can't get back. But the cool thing about time is that you get started like now, and then you can begin to let, time work its magic. It's like when you said those words, it's like, yeah, I bought that house 4 years ago. It's like, what?
Yeah.
4 years ago. Like literally.
Yeah.
That it seems like just yesterday. And I know everybody listening today, they get it. They understand
it.
Because we all experience it the same way. We all look back, and can't believe like where the time has gone. I think about Justin who produces this podcast. and he's like, I don't know, 12. And maybe he's older than that because him and his wife just had a baby.
Yeah, I think he's older than 12. Barely. He's barely older than 12, yeah.
But, when you're younger, it just seems like time goes slower. And as you get a little bit older, it tends to go more quickly. But here's the beautiful thing is that even after we're gone, time's going to continue.
It will.
Like time it's a linear, invention of man, right?
Yeah.
Where, to us, time is very linear and we've got kind of a beginning, we've got an end. But the reality is that when we're gone, time will continue on this earth. And that's where you can create this generational wealth. And if you have that plan, if you teach your posterity or whoever you're leaving your wealth to, like, man, that is something that can create an indefinite amount of benefit for those who come after, or for charities that are ongoing in perpetuity, whoever you end up leaving, your properties or your wealth to. And we won't get into all the benefits that happen during that transition from your life to somebody, to somebody who's still here. But man, like from that standpoint, real estate is timeless.
That is for sure. And because time is such a valuable commodity, we're not going to take any more of it up today. Right. So listen, if you don't have a plan, get a plan. Once you have that plan, stick to that plan and understand it is a long-term plan. Then give that plan the time that it needs and you will create wealth. It is the great wealth creator if you will leverage it the right way. And we think that the best way to leverage it from a wealth standpoint is in the incredible vehicle of real estate. So if you don't have a plan, get a plan. If you need a revised plan, revise your plan. And if there's any way that we can serve you or help you, that is what we are here to do. Get a plan, stick to the plan, give it time. You might just get wealthy. That's all we have for you. Thanks everybody for joining the Replace Your Income podcast. We'll see you real soon.
Thanks everyone.